good.
Ready? Ready? Okay. Hello everyone. It's the day before Christmas Eve. We're down here at the boat club. So we've had the great opportunity today to catch up with Karsten, who's home for Christmas with the family, heading down to Warrnambool. The family's down to Warrnambool. So I thought it was good while he's home just to talk a little bit about how he's going up at Canberra. Obviously, as many of you would know, the men in the senior team getting ready for the Olympics next year up in Canberra, and the women are up in Sydney. So it's always good whilst they're home to get a little bit of insight on what's happening around the place. So welcome, Karst. Thanks for being here at home at Melbourne Uni.
Thanks, Christian. It's great to be home.
Now, mate, probably the first thing which I think is quite topical at the moment, we've had a lot of bushfires up in Sydney. I know there's been a little bit of drama over the last number of weeks or months with all that. How's things been going up in Canberra and in Sydney, dealing with the bushfires?
Well, we had a few smoky sort of conditions around Canberra, and then we headed to Sydney early December for the December trials, which are the first of 3 selection trials which we've got for the Olympic team. And those trials were affected by the smoke and were cancelled. So everyone actually came back to Canberra, all the guys did, and some of the girls, and we did some training there. But then the smoke found its way to Canberra as well. So we've probably had the last 3 weeks where we've been training mostly indoors on the machines, and Rowing Australia have had to put in place a policy effectively to deal with this issue, which has not really been an issue. I mean, we've had smoke from bushfires before, but not for this sort of period. And where Canberra is located, we've got fires to the north, to the northeast, and to the southeast. So really we can only get fresh air if we get wind from the west, and it's either been a bushfire wind or it's been still, in which case the smoke's just been hanging around. And the smoke levels that we're talking about are beyond hazardous. So
to give people, I don't know, some compare. What's 150 and 450 measurement mean? Like what's it like rowing in that's 400? Is it like rowing in China or something, like with all the smoke factories there? Do they give some sort of
the relative air quality, when we checked it, and this is a few days ago, of all the cities in the world, Canberra had the second worst air quality, and that was when the air quality index, the AQI was around 200, and since then it's been above 1,000. So it's some of the worst air in the world at the moment, and the concern is that there's small particulates in the smoke. And so they make an equivalence in terms of number of cigarettes you might smoke a day, and some of it's been like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day if you're out doing. So the health advice is to avoid strenuous exercise and activity, which is pretty much what we do. So it makes it fairly difficult.
So I see I think there was a picture on Instagram. I think you've been in a big shed or a big gym, have you, doing ergos? Is that sort of what's been going on the last week or two?
The AS has got some laboratories, so some physiology laboratories, and they've got fairly sophisticated air conditioning, which we've been using to train in. But even still, some of those rooms have still been smoke infected. So some of the sessions we've had to moderate to do a lower intensity just because people were struggling.
Oh, okay. Mate, it's your first time at the training centre for the last 3 months, has it been? Is that approximately? Is that right? Well, in terms of since the start of the new cycle.
Yep. So we recommenced in when was I back up there? End of September. So I've had October, November, most of December. So 3 months.
Yeah. How's it been going?
Yeah, good for me. When I first started up there last year, I had a lot of issues with injury. So I've had a pretty clean run for the last 3 months, which has been really good. So I've been able to do a really consistent run of training. Still struggling to get the small boat going, but then it's probably always been a bit the case for me, finding I'm a bit more comfortable the bigger the boat gets, and that's to do with speed of movement for me. And when I get into the smaller boats, I try and row them like the big boats. So I just move too quick and I just tear the water effectively. Which is something I'm conscious of, but I'm getting pretty old. Habits are hard to break.
No, you're not too old, never too old, mate. I suppose this time of the year, athletes heading home, getting ready for, having Christmas, have a little bit of downtime, and then it's probably pretty full on for the next, middle of March is when the Olympic trial's on.
Yeah.
Have you sort of thought much about what sort of unfolds over the next 2.5 months for you?
Yeah, well, definitely. That's everything at the moment is all about finding a spot in the quad, hopefully, and making sure that the physical preparation, mental preparation, all of the preparation in terms of family and logistics and the stuff that goes on the background in order to make this possible, that's all up and running. And so it's a bit of a logistics exercise, looking at the calendar, seeing where we're going to be at different times and places. And one of the things that is obviously playing around with that a little bit is we're not sure whether we're going to be back in Canberra through January
Because of the bushfires.
Because of the bushfires.
Oh, right, okay.
So we might end up spending a bit of time down in Tassie,
yeah.
where the air is clear, and maybe Lake Barrington, which would be great.
Right, yeah. I know that plenty of masters that might be watching this. We've got the Masters rowing champs down there later in the end of April, start of May.
Yeah.
So you might have to give them a few words of advice when you come back.
We can have a chat later.
Yeah. How have you found the actual training program itself? Like, it's fairly probably different to previous cycles, which I think most people probably in the country are aware of how the change of program since 2016. How have you found it? What do you find that's working really well for you? Maybe some things you need to sort of get your head around a bit quicker, a bit more in the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, I think having an unbroken training run, for a couple of months has been really good for physical development. I did a 5-kilometre ergo. I did a PB over 5Ks, which was about a 15-second PB, which is not bad. Late 30s, very late 30s. So the physical development, I think, is something that really benefits from this program. We do a lot of volume. We're 3 sessions a day. Every day we have Sundays off. So tending to sort of recover on the Sunday, start the week fairly well, and then get very tired towards the end of the week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're struggling to hit some of your performance parameters and some of your speeds and things like that. But that's quite a deliberate training load impact. And the coaching staff and Ian Wright, as head coach, is very aware that athletes tend to sort of some of them struggle towards the end of the week. But I'm getting better at that, getting better at tolerating load. We do a regular morning. We'll do 40 kilometres on the water, and some other mornings we do 55 kilometres in the morning. And you think back to when you and I were rowing on the river here, preparing in 2006 and 2007, a normal morning might be 16 kilometres. So there's a big jump, and you certainly feel that. But it's something that you condition to, and you get used to. But I've only been doing it for since April, since I went up there. The rest of the guys have been up there have been doing this 3 sessions a day for nearly 4 years.
Yeah. And you got your other club members up there, Simon and Josh.
Yes.
How are they going? So I'm assuming they're out in the singles as well, but probably doing a bit more sweep rowing these days.
Yeah,
heading into Christmas.
Yeah, and we've sort of adopted Ben Coombs as well.
And Coombsy, yeah. Well, if Coombsy's anyway, we'll talk about Coombsy another time.
We're working on
Coombsy. Sorry, Tim.
He's training out of the club now. Yeah. And Masters too.
And Masters and Tim.
No, they're going well. I saw everyone is back in town in Melbourne now. They were training this morning, so either on the water or on the air. And I think everyone's enjoying a bit of relief from that program, but also down in Melbourne having the fresh air and being surrounded by your family again this time of year.
Yeah.
It's really great.
And so they're out sweeping a lot more at the moment, whereas you're not. You're in the 8th, obviously at the World Championships, and the sweep option is not really a focus for you, or an option going forward.
I still, I guess the 8 is a romantic pipe dream, because that's where I started, and that's where we re-rode, and for a lot of my career I talked about the 8, and we've never won the 8 at the Olympic Games before. We've never won the quad at the Olympic Games before either. So I would love to do the 8, and I I had a 2-week international season last year, which culminated in qualifying the 8 for the Olympic Games, which was fantastic. But I still think, given the way that I row and my knowledge of the boat class and what I can add, my best prospects for the Olympics are in the quad.
Can you talk to people a little bit about, just going back to your point around the quad and the single or even the double? Do you have to row the boat differently in your view, to get the fastest or the best performance out of those different boats? Or is that more just how you need to, adapt to it to get the best performance?
Well, I mean, certainly in my experience, I've gone the best in the single when I have had no thought of running a quad. Coming up a quad season where the quad's done really well, I've come back into the single and the single has not gone fast. So, even if I didn't, that's purely just looking at it objectively. I think that they do need to be rowed differently, but that my opinion is certainly that you need to have fast twitch stuff going for the quad and for the bigger boats, just because they go that much quicker. They can afford to be bullied a little bit more, but obviously a high skill level is rewarded because of the speed of the move. And when I first started in the quad rowing, I simply couldn't move quick enough. I remember just having to train to move quick enough to get in the quad because I was the slowest guy in the boat, and now I'm finding that it's the other way around, that I'm moving too fast for it when I get in the quad, which has never really been an issue. I think if you look internationally, there's not too many people that can cross over from a single to quad and go back again. You look at Olaf Tufte or Mahi Drysdale or those guys. They can go in reasonable quads, but certainly they don't seem to be able to go back and forth. And wherever you look, I can't believe it.
Talking about the Olympics next year, it'll quickly be here by it'll come along in the end of July, I think it is, start of August. Are you watching what other quads and singles and doubles and other scullers are doing around the world? Social media and Instagram these days is pretty freely available. Are you tracking, or are the coaches tracking what all the other countries are up to at this time of the year?
I tend not to. I tend not to get caught up in that too much, but certainly watching what they did at the last World Championships or what they did at the last European Championships. The quad at the moment to beat are the Dutch, and they have a very beautiful style of rowing. It's something that is very pleasant to watch, and it looks incredibly efficient. But we know that these guys are really strong as well. They're really good on the ergo. So we've got a very strong team. We've got a very fit team. I don't think anyone does any more training than us. So for us to be competitive with the Dutch, it's about not only bringing that horsepower but also the execution. So we do watch a lot of video of what they've been doing, but there's not really any secrets. It's about looking after the boat through the turns and moving with the speed of it, and knowing what the speed of the quad is. It's a quick boat.
Is there any science or technology that the Rowing Australia is making available to you at the moment, that you're able to pick up things better, easier in terms of your learning and performance outcomes? Has anything really dramatically changed in that area?
No, not really. No, I don't think so. The best tools for us, I think, are the acceleration curves and profiles, which we still we look at those a lot. Every session we have on the water, we get speed, rate, feedback on the acceleration profile. If we change people in and out of the boat, we have a look at what impact that has on the overall acceleration curve. And what you'll find is that people generally have signatures, and throughout their career it doesn't really change much. And you feel like you get on the water and you'll change completely the way that you're rowing. And you look at the acceleration profile, and the signature's still pretty much the same. One of the interesting things, I spent a lot of time overseas in the single this year, and I was really struggling to get it going. And sat down with my coach Mark Prater, and we compared, my single now to 4 years ago, when I was going, 5:46 or something in the single, versus now where I was doing like 7:15, so I was doing 15 seconds slower over 2 kilometres. and really the acceleration profile wasn't too different. So what I took out of that was actually a fair bit of confidence that you're not too far away. It's just doing a few simple things right. And that was a really good discussion to have, because over the course of the next few weeks it was a lot about confidence, and then ended up having a few good training sessions and some good racing in the single, and then racing my way into the 8.
Talking about that mental side, is that how much of that, this will be hopefully your third Olympic Games, that experience, that confidence, that knowledge, do you think that's going to be something up your sleeve more than anyone else that you'll have to try and beat, to get to the quad?
Oh, absolutely. It's something that I'm going to have to find a way to leverage, because I can try and match it with these guys physically and technically, but they're all very good, and they've all been training very hard, and they've all been doing just as much training as I have, and some of these guys are really good, and there's a lot of exciting stuff going on about the future of Australian rowing, with some really highly capable rowers out there. So that experience has to count for something. And what I like to think is that through training we can spend more time doing the right thing, so that when it comes to the crunch, that's what you execute come race day as well.
Mate, probably final thought, if you like. Hopefully come, I don't know, this time 12 months, maybe earlier, you'll be sitting back. Hopefully we can watch this video in 12 months time, and what do you dream of? What do you think you'll sort of look back in 12 months from this point and go, yep, I did this, or this is sort of what I wanted to get out of this next 12 months?
Well, we got a bit of a running joke about who's going to be turning up to the training centre again on the 1st of September. My name keeps ending up at the top of the list based on previous visits. No, look, I mean, ultimately, I'd love to win a gold medal out of all this, one of the reasons I got into this, and particularly for the quad, is the quad's, the last 3 Olympic Games has gone 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and I want to be around to finish it off. And I feel like, a lot of that is about making sure that counts for something. So the lessons learned through that actually build all the way through to Tokyo. So I feel like we're in a really good position in terms of Scully to execute exactly that. So I'd like to finish that journey, and in 12 months' time, I'd like to say that, yes, I stuck at it, and it is hard. I think, there are times when it's all pretty tough. There's a lot that goes on in the background and supporting me from my wife and family and children who are all up in Canberra with me, and it's something that I've really tried to share as well. This is very much, it's a personal, journey in many ways, but in order for it to be successful, I need to make sure that it's an adventure for everyone in the family as well. So I really want to look back on and see, that was a really positive thing that I did, for myself, but also, everyone that's been there for the journey.
I mean, rowing it's a very long journey, type of. Also for you, mate. But in all parts, people even down here at the club, at varying levels, where there's some that are starting off now that are just finishing off their school, and others still in their 70s, 80s and 90s still kicking around. From a sport, it's plenty of people living the journey of rowing and what it can offer and what it does. So anyway, thanks everyone. Thanks, Cast, for the chat today.
Thank you, Christian.
Great for coming in down here at Melbourne Uni. Thanks everyone. Hope you all have a great Christmas. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people racing through January, February, March and April. We've got a lot of young kids, which hopefully a lot of you have seen floating around the place. And then we kick off on the Masters Champs down there in May in Tasmania to sort of fill out most of the bulk of the season. So thanks everyone. Have a good Christmas, and we'll see you down at the club in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Well done. Hope it's still going.
Yep.